Okay, we should be live right now, and welcome. And today what we're going to do is we're going to do some live coding in Rust, and we're going to learn about DOCX, which is Word, Microsoft Word, into Markdown. And we're going to explore, and it's something I need to do for our client on AI Pack. And I would like to start to explore the crates and see what is working well and the different strategies that we can adopt. So that is what we're going to do today. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And the thing here is funny. Okay, I have one concurrent viewer right now, and I'm not sure if I'm fully live or not. Okay, good. Thank you to Nguyen. Thank you for the hello here. At least I know I have one. So what we're going to do is going through the hello world. So the way that I always start, every time I want to learn something, I always start with one of my XP, which is exploration, experiment, example, or whatever. And then this one would be a doc to MD. And you can see that if I do here, if I do a ls there, I'm going to have 100 of those. So every time I learn something, I do a little XP and then I play with it. And then I make sure that I clean the things. Okay, hey, Natmail, thank you. We have 2 comments. That's good. We're coming up. So today we're going to do the DOCX-to-Markdown. And we're going obviously to use this one. We don't need that. And that is my best practice. And then we're going to toggle that on and off. And then this one is, I like it a lot. And the question is, where do we start? Do we start with a crate or do we start manual in many ways? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create our documents. So we're going to create a data folder. And that we're going to put our data there. And for now, we're just going to do, give me a sec, Word document. And we're going to do a Word document. And this is pretty cool. It's a new stuff with Copilot over there. And we're going to say, create a simple NDA. Boom. And that will create our Word document. And then we'll use Rust to go from Word to Markdown. So that is the goal. So this way we have, headings and different things. And I think it's fine. Okay. We're going to keep it. We even have a little table over there. That is pretty good. So we are going to save that. And I'm going to go to my Rust, XP, Rust docx. I'm looking at another place here. And docx common. And data. And we're going to say, we're going to call that doc, simple, NDA, docx. Boom, save it. So that's it. So that is our file over there. Little NDA that we have that allows us to do the thing. And now this is basically how do we get the data and how do we get it to Markdown. And one of the reasons why we want to do that is because with LLM, with AI, LLM, and it's important that we always think how to use LLM on everything we do. Yeah, now it's had changed from before. We don't need to go to the whole vibe coding craze and everything to recognize that AI adds a lot of value to everything. So the goal is when you talk to LLMs, English or any kind of people language works pretty well. JSON works pretty well, and Markdown works very well as well. If you have a heavy XML and stuff, the LLM is going to spend too much time kind of deciphering stuff, and then it blows up the context and everything. So, and it obviously doesn't read binary files except images. So the question is, what is a Word document? And a Word document is, so if I close it here, we're going to do that. We're going to do the reveal on this guy. And we're going to see, I don't know why. that up. So if we do go to this, and I'm sorry here, I cannot really make it bigger somehow. It doesn't like it. We're going to copy this guy to another guy, and we're going to put it in a zip file. And I think that should work. Because in fact, they are, I think, yeah, I'm 90% sure that no, it's not a zip file. It is a zip file, but somehow it's unsupported format for Mac. So this is a zip file, and within it, there's XML for the style, for the content, and everything. So that is how it works. This is the thing. So unfortunately, we cannot see it there. There's probably a way here that we can export that. But basically, what we want is to have this Word document, and we want to have a Markdown, because it's very friendly to AI. So what I do, and I didn't do too much research, I want to create.io, and there's few things that we can look at. And those are, I'm going to turn this one off. And those are mark. So there's some that are the DOCX parser. So if we go look at that, so usually I look at this, and this is basically kind of dead. There's the DOCX-RS, which is okay, looks to be a pretty good one. And I think this one is a fork of something else. So if I go, oh, this one is a fork of this one for some reason. I don't know why. But this guy is relatively recent. And so that allows us not to go to Markdown, but allows us to parse it. So we're going to, here we have the path, we parse it, and then you can add paragraph. So you can edit stuff. So that's pretty good. And they also have the whole WASM support, which kind of makes sense. That is a nice thing to have on the client side. And this is a good use of WASM in many ways, I think. The reason why I say I think is because when you have string, they have to go back and forth between the WASM and the JS, and that is what is not super optimized. But I mean, it has some challenges. So I think this one is that, but it's not. We don't want to go there because I'm not sure. So first of all, this crate, I don't know if it's really require WebAssembly. I think it does not, but I'm not sure. But there's another one, which is also Markdownify. This one is interesting. This guy is kind of small. Yeah. So that is very small as a crate, but it has some interesting and in many ways very ambitious plan. And I do think this supports some, but basically Word to Markdown and everything, even PDF, which I'm not really sure, PowerPoint and all this kind of thing. So that is quite a big list, but at least that would give us a good starting point. So I'm going to look at that, and that is good. I'm using my little, the same boxed in patterns that I use. Salut, Sim. Hello, Oleg. No, we have a lot of people here. Instructions and everybody. Thanks a lot. Thanks to say hi. I really appreciate it. Kind of give some live. So the things that we're going to do now is going to be do this guy. We're going to do that. And we don't want, actually this one is saying we can use directly this DOCX converter. So we're going to do that. So we're going to take that there, and then, so I have my examples. So again, this, I have an empty lib here. That is my strategy for my exploration projects. And then I have a C1 hello, which is probably going to be a C1 simple. Okay, I'm going to do a git add and git log. So that is my initial things, and git amend. Okay, Now I'm going to do a CWE. So that is a shell function. So thanks to void byte, told me that CWE. And that is just do a cargo watch. It does this guy. That is, I like it. So like this, I do a CWD01, simple. So when I learn or when I experiment or whatever, I always like with Rust to be in a very fast iterative mode. And the cargo watch is a very good one. There's Bacon, which is pretty good, but I came back to cargo watch. It's very simple and works very well. But anything that allows you to watch the files and then do a run again, it's good. So now we have the hello world, and we're going to go to that guy. We are going to go here. I'm going to go and add it over there. So we're going to say docx. And that will compile. It will do the hello world, which is so far so good. It's pretty big to compile, so that shows that might be a pretty big crate. Interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's a big crate. So I go to dependencies sometime, use CSV, low PDF. So that might be not default feature. That's good. Okay, so it's well done. Calamine to Excel and open document spreadsheets. Okay. Quick XML. That makes sense to parse XML quickly. And then, so that is what I do to check a little bit. Thanks, temp files, that makes sense. Zip, that makes sense because it's a zip. So I think Mac doesn't recognize, it might not be super nice with our friend here, Microsoft, but it's kind of a zip, the docx. The .doc is a pain. The docx is a zip with different XML files. So that makes sense. So that what we can learn from that already is to say, well, they have something special for, and probably pretty deep for Excel, for CSV. That is, the de facto standard. For low PDF, which is probably a good one. But then for Word, they don't have anything special. What they use is quick XML and zip. Yeah. So that is what we can learn just by looking at the dependencies. Now I go to the version over there, and again, it's a very small crate, but it's relatively healthy. So it's kind of a new crate, so it's okay that it's low, and it might be good. Now, we're going to do that, and we're going to take that guy, and we're going to put it there, just there. And now, this is not going to be our path, so I'm going to probably do something like const dot path str, and then I'm going to do a data, and I know that if I spell that, I'm going to mess it up. Docx. Okay, so we have this guy, and then we're going to have that guy over there. We're going to do that. Now press save, and that will complain. That's normal. Path. And this one, so that is, sometimes people ask me the stuff is command dot. And then it gives me that, and I say, yes, import that. That sounds good. Now, this guy is doing that, which does that make sense? Okay, yeah, this is already a path. And that is Markdown, and I'm going to see what is a Markdown format? It's a string. And so I'm going to do my debug print, and I'm going to do Markdown. I'm going to do a new line, Markdown. Okay, I'm going to remove the hello world, press save, and then boom, we have that. And that is actually pretty impressive. I mean, that is pretty cool. I don't like the star as dot, but everybody's using that these days. I like dash, but that is just That is actually a very good. I'm pretty impressed because I looked a little bit at the code. We're going to look at the code of this guy, and it's deceptively simple. So it's kind of pretty impressive that it does that good. And the reason why I'm super happy is it did respect the heading, kind of. I think that that is a title. But those headings seem to be respected. It doesn't go down then. It's going to be. Sorry about that. So that is interesting. So let me see the doc again. So this guy is title. And so it's yeah, okay. And that is super important for me when I want to support these kind of things. I don't want to mess it up. Yeah. So this one should be a 1, shouldn't be a 2. And here it's a 2. This one should be a 1. This one is heading 1, so should be a 2. But even if you argue that this one should be a 1 and this one should be, it's weird that they are both 2s here. That doesn't make sense. That is something I'm not sure. And then the bullet points here, that's fine. I think it's fine sometime in Markdown. So what we can do now, I'm going to do something like that. The path, and we're going to call it, well, whatever, MD path. MD, and then we're going to save it into a Markdown. So like this, we can see if the highlight and all of these kind of things. So I'm going to do that, and now I'm going to see if Copilot can do it for me because I'm lazy. Save Markdown to that. And then I do what? An option /. That is the way I plugged in because I don't like the autocomplete being automatic and everything. It kind of annoys me. So I'm the one telling it to come and it's not the one showing up somewhere. So I click save and then boom, we have, oh, okay, yeah. So I have a little hack here, my cargo watch. Do I have a little hack? I don't know. This is because I'm creating a file, so it's always like loading again. Okay, so my little hack is the following. I think the cargo watch is following gitignore. In my gitignore as a best practice, I often have this business, which is I ignore everything which starts with a dot, only things that start with underscore. Exactly for this reason, actually. Because now I can go there without changing my dot ignore, and I do a dot data. And that will make it not in the Git anymore, which is probably what I wanted to do at the first place. Now I need to go back here, update this guy, and now I have this. And I do think that that will work nicely. Boom. It doesn't restart because it creates it, but because in the gitignore and because cargo watch or something is nice, I think cargo watch is a nice guy and say, hey, if you gitignore, I'm not going to restart again. Okay? So that is nice. So now what we have is we can open this guy and see this guy there, which is much nicer to look at than the terminal. So there's the line here, business, but that is always a tricky part. And this is not too bad. So those guys are the 3. And if we look at the document, down heading, that's weird. Heading 1. Yeah, it didn't really follow the heading business here. Oh, this guy is what? Huh. Why did he pick up this guy as a... as a thing. So what we need to do here to better understand is, so the question here is, this guy is a custom component. It's not a heading, it's nothing. It's just one of the style like this. This guy is that heading. So the point is why this one become a 2 and then this guy become a 3. Perhaps because this one is a subtitle. The UI of this is crazy. Oh yeah, subtitle. It's funny that they still didn't fix this UI. So subtitle here. Okay, that's fair enough. So what it says is title and subtitle is 2. And then this is 3. And let's say that we're going to put another guy over there. And we're going to do subsection. And I don't want to do 1.1 because I don't want it to assume that is stuff. Now let's do the silly stuff here. And we're going to take a heading 2. I don't know how I will do a heading 3. I think heading 3 shows up when you have a heading 2, yeah. And then I'm going to say this is the content for this subsection. Okay, I'm going to press save now. And then the cool things about this is I should be able to come here, press save, and that should create us the markdown, sorry, being slow here. We don't need the terminal anymore. Subsection stuff, and 3. Okay. So it's cool, but for me, it's not going to cut it. I need to be able to preserve at least the heading. And already I'm making an assumption that people are going to use heading, which usually people are not. They don't like to be disciplined, so they don't use these kind of things. But at least if there is heading, I cannot lose headings. So that is heading 1. This one is heading 1. So they shouldn't have the same number of stuff. Okay, so that is what we have there. And in fact, we're going to change a little bit our strategy over there. We're going to say that we're always going to use that guy, but then the output is going to be our number. So, and by the way, here I'm thinking out loud because what I'm doing here is not alive to teach. It is a way I learn. I need to change DOCX to Markdown at the quality that I need to, or the quality with the scheme I want to. And I'm doing that live. So I will do exactly the same thing if I were alone. And I'm kind of alone. And we're going to do save here. Now I don't need the print. The print is annoying. But I do want a print though. I just want a print ln, just a simple one. Save to. And now we're going to do MD path. Wow. Sorry, guys. That was embarrassing. I don't know why I did that. It's, I think because I'm working too much with Lua these days. Which has nothing to do with the syntax, but somehow my brain. Okay, cool. So we have this. And so every time I save here. So I'm going to remove that. And I'm going to have this. So now we know that is title. That is subtitle still 2. And then that is heading 1. And that is heading 2. If that would have been 4, I would have been almost happy. But subtitle, you could argue, title should be 1. There's no reason that there's something above the title guy. And then that should kind of follow down. So what we're going to do is, and I might publish this if you follow the thing and if you ask for it. Yes, can you put it to Git? That would be nice, yes. Yes, but you are not going to have the file, because otherwise every time I press save it's going to do the stuff. So I can do that. I should have done that. Git add and git c01 simple with markdown if-I. Okay, and now give me 1 sec. I'm going to go to my GitHub, my channel guy. I'm going to create a repository. I'm just going to do it live. I should have done it. And I say, well, I will do it if someone asks for it. So, and Nguyen, you ask for it, I will do it. And now I don't forget to put it public, because last time it was a pain. And that's it. And I'm going to do that. And that. And now you should have it there. Awesome. And I'm going to do the stuff. So the only thing I'm not putting right now, and I might put it later if it's not too big, I don't really care about this repo, but is the data folder, because otherwise every time it's going to, 18 kilobytes is decent. Okay, so so create one doc simple NDA docx, and then you should have everything else should come together. So, and in fact, I'm sorry, I'm going to change the stuff. We don't care if it's an NDA. So we're going to make this file like that. It's not like it could be anything, yes? So doc simple is going to be the source, and then we're going to have C1 and all these guys. And we are going to do Git. It's not on Git, but if I want the example to work, so now it shouldn't work that much. Yeah, good. Like when things break, when they are supposed to break. Doc simple, press save, boom, we have the things, we're happy. And then I'm going to do one other things. Markdown if-I. Because that is using the markdown if-I. This is what it's using, yeah? I don't trust my spelling. Okay. So that is going to be our C1, and to be consistent here, we want the C01, 1, markdown if-I. Available target, yes, that makes sense. Boom. Now we have that. So if we remove this guy, do I still have the doc open? Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep it open. So that is a Word doc business. And then I'm going to markdown if-I and doc simple. That's perfect. This is what we want. I'm going to do git add, git c, C01, rename. Boom. Git push origin, you have it there. Okay, so hopefully everything good. Hey, from LA. That's pretty cool. Limio. You're not too far. So now we have this. And the trick here is that, again, for the one that came, is good. It's pretty cool. So you take a Word doc, like this guy, and you want to Markdown. So far, so good. However, for the one that comes, this is title. Well, this is title. If the UI is being nice with me, it's terrible. This is title, yeah, we see it there. And that is subtitle. I think the people that did the UI, they left in vacation 10 years ago. They never came back. And then that is heading 1. And this one is heading 2. But then we only have the 2 first, title and subtitle, 2 hashes, and then heading 1, heading 2, 3 hashes. That is, I cannot have that for us. We're working in medical stuff and everything. I need to keep the hierarchy of the business. So it's pretty cool. And the Markdownify is very good. I'm not putting the crate down. I'm just saying it's not really working for us. Now, one thing that we can do is a couple of things. One, searching for another one and to really parse the document. That could be one. But the problem is then after we are going to have to do the markdown. I mean, to do the 2 markdown. So if I go to Libs, DOCX-to-Markdown, convert a subset of tips to markdown. That's not an office, open office stuff. Yeah. And they don't put the number, so it's very hard all the time. Oh, Shiva is one that seems to be pretty 2024. Parser and generator of document of any types. And I think if we go to Shiva, so Shiva, I've seen it. Yeah. It's relatively small. And the scope is very large, like for me. So there's the other guy. So these files are always tricky, yes. So something that is too large might be a little bit tricky. If it's small and focus is good. If it's if the scope is big and it's small library, it's a tricky one. So this one is too small, but there's a docx parser, docx and Rust. The Rust is a fork of this one. So this one is this guy, but then we're like, it's cool because you can write it, but then we're in the business of iterating on it and everything. So we could use that. Should we use that? We could use more examples. So let's go and see examples. So one thing I like to go is I go to the repository and I'm going to go core, which I think is this one, the docrs. Okay, docrs. So I'm happy because doc-wasm is something else here. Because when I want my stuff, I don't need I don't need wasm if I don't want wasm. I like to be wasm to be an opt-in. Now there's a bounding, so that I will assume that that is when it's what? Oh my god! I will assume that that is when we have wasm. And now I'm going to do that alignment, custom properties, custom XML. Interesting. Data bindings, first event font. We have the hello, the reader, doc simple. That might be table of content. I get the document and then add run. So I add test again, style heading 1. That's funny. So I think this is concept of run, which is probably a run of elements or a run of text, I guess. Style heading paragraph. Yeah. So that we could go there, but then this is definitely a good, definitely seems to be a good deep crate. So it's something that I need to play with. But yeah, I don't know yet what I should do. The other option is to say, hey, this one really didn't go. It's not that far off. Honestly, if you had the headings right, I will be relatively happy. So this is because otherwise it's pretty good. I mean, you got that. Usually in Markdown, I think you make sure you start your bullet at the beginning, but it's not too bad. And at some point I thought you almost got a table here. Yeah, you got the table right, I think. That's super impressive. I mean, it's super, yeah. So let's go and look at the code. One thing that we're going to do, I wanted to go, is to look at the code of our friend Markdownify. That is what we're going to do. And right now, I'm just doing it, thanks, and eventually, oh my God, I'm sorry about the flashing here. Usually I go by hand, and I mean, I can clone it, or I can just look at it on the thing. So right now, I'm going to just look at it like that. So Markdownify, going to crates. There's a core here, which I'm not really sure what the core is about. MCAT. Got all of things you couldn't before. Okay, so I guess is putting in crate different thing. Seems a little bit unrated, this guy. Might be using MCAT. No, it doesn't use MCAT here. There seems to be another. And then this guy is what? A recipe for display image video. Okay, so there seems to be kind of different things, which is fine, and dependent kind of each other. So if I go to cargo, that is what I do. Edition 2024, so that's cool. Of creating a macroserver backend project using the gRPC. Can you help? I'm not a fan of gRPC. I understand why people get excited about it because it's come from Google, it's binary and everything. I think gRPC is very good when you need a binary to binary format because you have a binary two endpoints. Once you have one that is not binary, like JavaScript or Python, a lot of the benefit of gRPC just disappear. Now, the problem is management. That doesn't necessarily code really thinks that if you don't do gRPC, you're not enterprise or some weird thing like that. And so sometimes you're stuck in enterprise in gRPC because it's a requirement of the domain. And in this case, you have to use it. But I think if you have to use it for a good reason, because it's a compiled language to a compiled language, like a binary to binary, like C to C++, C to C++, or C++ to C, or Rust to C, or even binary Java or Go to another Go, and you really want to have binary, then that could be okay. And then in this case, in Rust, you have tower or something. You can use Axiom with tower, and then there's something there. There's one of the towers that allows you to have gRPC. The thing that I like a lot is JSON RPC. And that is what I explained in my Rust web app a while back, and I'm going to go back to it because we're going to do a Rust cloud application soon. So bottom line is one more JSON RPC, but for gRPC, I think you can use Axiom, and then there's something with tower that allows you to to do the gRPC business. So that is pretty cool. So low PDF, we're going to say, hey, we don't need this guy. And this is, I have a big question here. I've looked a little bit at low PDF. PDF is a whole other beast in a way. Temp file, okay, CSV, we're not going to care. We're going to need zip, and we're going to need quick XML. So what we're going to do is we're going to check the license. License is MIT, we're happy. And my stuff is MIT too, yeah, so yeah, I need my template, I should do MIT there. You can do whatever you want with it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go this guy, and I'm going to say low level libs. Yeah. And so we're going to have the zip, and we're going to have the quick XML. That is the thing I think I need. I don't need anything else. Okay, so I'm going to have to do this kind of two things. Now, again here, there's a difference between production coding and non-production coding. Production coding is when you code something, if you break, you put people in a mess. That is production coding. Regardless if it's cloud or deployed in Kubernetes or Docker, it has nothing to do with production coding. The Rust compiler is production coding. If they break it, we are in a mess. My AI pack is production coding. I have clients in AI pack. If I break it, they're in a mess. So regardless of what you are doing is if it breaks, you put people in a mess. A Rust XP, if it breaks, just nobody in the mess. Yeah? I just embarrass me here in front of you, and then that's it. Okay? So that's not production coding. And so my point here is that what I'm doing here is it's almost hacking. I just want to explore the things to understand, the different approaches. I don't even know where I want to land, but I want to do this little try. And so right now, the try that I'm going to do is to say, hey, since when you look at the code here of Markdownify on the docx, it's super small. So I went there this morning here. And so the thing I'm saying is to say, well, let's play with it and let's see what's going on. And then we can decide if we want to do a pull request or if we want to do our own things or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But we want to learn a little bit this kind of docx format. And again, this is a thing that I would have done exactly the same thing right now if I didn't do the live. So it's not like, it's a thing that I need to do anyway. That is relatively simple. So we have the zip because we know that is a zip, even if my little zip renaming kind of fails somehow. And then we have the quick XML, which makes sense because we want to parse the XML. And now I'm going to do something so when I look at the thing, I found out that it's only docx here, I think. So I think there might be some reusable things, but I think they are relatively, everything might be there. So use zip archive. Yeah. So we're going to do that, and we're going to do a row like that. And again, it's not production coding here. It's just learning stuff. So I'm going to do a mod, and it's going to be a pub, and it's going to be docx. Okay, and I'm going to, I'm going to create this file there. And so this is why I like this pattern a lot when I do experiment, because I can do my C01, C02, C03, and often I keep my lib empty. But sometimes I want to create more utilities that I might use in different places. And so this way, that will allow me to do that, and then I will access it from there. So that is the point. I go to doc things. I'm going to paste this one, and I'm going to see what is the state of the ground here. This might be a problem here. But outside of that, it doesn't complain, which is pretty cool. And now this guy, if I go back to this, oh, that's cool. That is where he has all the CSV converter. We don't really need that, but she's converter, that is what? That is for the Excel. And 2 markdown table here. And detect stuff. So what we're going to do, I don't want to bring back those guys. Because in many ways, for me, CSV is another beast. The value of moving a CSV to a markdown, I'm not sure. I'm not sure for my use cases. I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's bad for everything. I'm saying for my use case, I'm not 100% sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a pub, or I'm going to do something like that. Mode, it will be private to the crate. And I'm going to do MD support. Okay, very ugly, but you know, it is what it's going to be. I'm going to create that. Press save. Sometimes it doesn't thing. And stuff. And I'm going to put that there. Now it doesn't complain. I think it should complain, or it doesn't choose anything. I don't know. It's pretty simple. So now I'm going to go back there. And I'm going to see that guy. And I'm going to import that. Again, that is a command dot. Boom. Boom. So that's why it didn't come for free, yeah? Because you have to do some little logic here to do the thing. And the code is pretty clean, yeah, because when you see that it takes a markdown and it put it in rows, I mean, it's well done. Okay, so now we have that. And I think doc convert path. So he opened the thing, file read. And here's the thing, okay, so it takes a binary, this is a binary file, but it's a zip, yeah, so it's not a crazy doc, .doc. Because a .doc, I mean, I worked with it back in the days, it's a nightmare. You need ASPOS, it's a format that were done back in the days when Word was on all PCs and stuff and needed to read, and it was optimizing the read and stuff. It's a crazy format. And DOCX, it's an XML format. And so he reads it, have the cursor here, then it unzip it, create the XML content, then it goes through the archive until he finds the Word document XML. So that is the way it is, yeah? It's a zip file and there's these files, guys. And then is reading it to a string. That's fair. And it's reading it to this guy that we had there. Okay, that's pretty cool. Je galère à comprendre. Tu parles vite des fois, Jérémy. Yeah, good feedback. And I'm sorry, I've been living 25 years in San Francisco and I still have my airport accent. My kids are making fun of me. My wife doesn't understand me. It's a pain, but that's why I code. But I'm going to try to speak slower. So now what we have is we have this XML content that is getting populated there. So it's loading the whole document XML, which might have some style. I'm not an expert here, but they have more than one type of document. And then it put it there. Now is having a reader, which I think the reader is quick XML reader. Makes sense. Okay. And that's cool that they do a reader. So like this, I guess in XML, you can have a way where it was back in the day, it was SAX or whatever. You can read the XML as you go. So perhaps it's what they do, I don't know. But it's always good to have a reader kind of pattern. And so that will be a reader from quick XML. Then we do a vector new, makes sense, which is going to be our buffer, and the markdown, which is a new markdown. We're keeping the table rows, the current row, okay, that is states that probably needs to be kept, and then the styles. And then that is, I think, the event. Okay. So the way that the XML, and I think the quick XML, we can go. Let's go there. That is going to be good. So again, you have a couple of ways of reading an XML. I mean, you have two main ways, is to load everything, and then you navigate through it and say, hey, give me all of the documents and everything, and then you go down. Or the other ways is to say, here's a reader, and every time you have a node, an attribute, or everything, you fire, meaning the iterator will say the next guy is going to be a new attribute, or a new node, or it's going to be the end of the node, or all these kind of things. And so you get events. And so that is, you're streaming the stuff. The benefit of that is you don't keep the whole thing in memory. Now, in our case, it doesn't really matter because we have loaded, in this case, in the code of Markdownify, we've loaded everything in memory already. So there will be an argument of saying, well, the way will be to, since we already have everything in memory, more to have the tags just pointing to the right slices. That could be one. The nice thing about this approach is that it's independent if you have read everything or not. Yeah. So that is that is good. High performance pull reader. Yeah, it's pull reader and pull writer as well. The reader, it's almost a zero copy. Oh, that's cool. Cow. But in this case, we already have the whole thing in memory. But the cool thing is that it's a zero copy. So what is giving it back is not cloning. So so this is very cool. Well, this is cool. So, I mean, it's good developers in this ecosystem. So it doesn't copy, like when you find and say, oh, there's a tag, it doesn't clone the string and give you a thing. They use cow and everything when it's possible. Yeah? Copy and write. And so like that, you don't duplicate the thing. So we have, from a string standpoint, we have the big string only once in memory. And various encoding and everything and stuff. No, so that sounds to be pretty good. Okay, so we're going to go back there now. And we're going to look at that. So this is probably, so we start an event. And if we come and click on this guy, start a tag. Okay, that's pretty cool. And that is a byte start. So that is a way they do their reference stuff. And it is, so it should be with attribute. Funny, interesting. Oh, no, that's cool. So they gave us an event. This is a cool doc. They give us an event to say, hey, here's a tag and here's all the attributes. So we don't have an event for the tag and then an event for the attribute, and we need to do the bookkeeping. They are helping us a little bit there. So it's much nicer. So they say, hey, here's the content of the element before name length. Okay, and they probably have API, so we don't need to go that deep. So on this guy, once you have the E, which is a byte start, you have a function name, and then you do the asref, and that will return a string. And then what it's saying is, well, if it's a table, that should be the word stuff to say table. Okay, word is probably W is the word guys. Then they want to work for the Go guys. And then we have TBL, which is table probably. And that's type table true. So you want to keep track of the style as you move along. And then this guy is bold. So what he's saying is, hey, we get attribute. And then we say if the attribute, I don't know why cares about the attribute. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so this is a quirk of the word format, I guess. Is to say if there is an attribute, you still can do attribute equal false, I guess. So if someone yeah, okay. If you select something, you put it bold and then unbold. Rather to remove the attribute, I think they set the flag false. So this code here, what it says is say, hey, if there's an attribute, it's bold only if it's true, otherwise it's not bold. Yeah, so that is a good thing. Italic is business, track same business, U is U, style is style, val, title, okay. Contains heading, okay, so this is where we are going to do our little guy here. Lever, okay. That is normal, it's back in the days. So this one, we can use the let chain guy. Okay. Then we have the text. Underline and stuff. Okay, that's fine. Oh, you see? This is where it is. This is where it is. That's pretty cool. Okay. Okay. And so what goes through my head is here to say, well, obviously the developer is a good, I mean, this is a good crate, good code, good everything. And so there's two reasons why it is like that. One is because at no time and it was not a high requirement and, we need to do more bookkeeping, but we have the data, but we have to go ahead and we just hardcode it like this. It will be good enough. So that could be good and it's completely valid. Or the other one, which I hope is not, is to say, well, it's too hard, there's no information there, and we cannot know what level it is. I don't think it is, because Word has to, and the format is relatively young in a way. I mean, it has been 10 years or 15 years ago, whatever, or 20 years ago, but it's not one of these, weirdo languages format of before. So I do think that we have that in the element. And for example, before, in the old days, this information might have been stuck, not attached to the string, yes, in the .doc. Could have been later because the way it was done. So now I think that is there. So that's pretty cool. And then we have the table here, which is done a pretty good job. So we already know here what we need to work on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste this one into custom. We're going to call it custom. Okay. And that would be our C02. And this is a weirdo thing of VS Code. We're going to do that, and that will be custom. And now what we're going to do is we don't want to run this guy. What we want is to run, so this is a reason why, so it's a little bit a long name here, this guy, but it's going to be okay. So we go to our custom, we do this, and those three guys is going to be underscore. Press save. Look at that. Sometimes things are too good. So it works. And again, that is a good job from the crate. I'm sorry here, I'm deep into my code here. Thank you, Sim. Here you're like I think this is, the top fans. So, and Auburn, I know JavaScript, I'm learning Rust. What are some good things that are easy to do in Rust? Very good question. And my recommendation is do simple command line utilities that are useful to you, that you wish you had, or other ones are like, even if it's already done, yeah? But just work on that. The trick is make sure that these utilities read files and give you information on what it reads, but make sure you don't delete anything. Yeah? Don't start making, file system delete and everything when you're learning. But one of my first crate is diff, which is awesome. I mean, I like it a lot. So it's little things, which is directory information. And then boom, it gives you, and you can see it. I have it in the crate. .io, I pushed it, but I have many utilities that I don't push. I just use, for me, it's dirty code, hacky code. But that is the way it does, and it goes through all the things, and it gives me how big this folder is. It's give me, 400, and by extension, and then the top biggest files. And then I have stuff where I can put a glob in it. I added glob then to say, hey, I just want to have the rlib guy. And that will only give me the rlibs guys. And say, hey, you have this many files of these guys and so on. And then I can say, well, I want the summary only, and only of the direct folders, children. Boom. And then it gives me all the direct folders here to say, here's what I have. Very silly. Yeah. But I love it. And I don't care if people don't use it, but it allows me to learn and to do something super cool, super nice for me. So, and that I can do. And then after you can say, hey, it would be nice if I have a watch mode, where today I don't have it, but it will watch and it will refresh if there's a file below these guys that does these kind of things. So you can redo your diff, don't reuse, don't think about reuse, just do little things like this that are helpful to you. That, my recommendation, best way to learn. The trick here is cargo, watch, dash, install, dash path, dot. And then when you do that, it will keep installing every time you save, and then you can use it anywhere on your OS. And this is awesome. It's almost like doing Python. You change your stuff, and then you code it on your stuff. Just make sure you don't start deleting files and stuff, because you don't want to learn. And even me, I rarely delete. And when I delete files, I always have a safe, even it's a pseudo safeguard, saying, make sure I delete only things that are below the current folder or something like that. So hopefully I answered your question. A little API with Rust v18. I'm not sure what is that. You got upgraded, by the way, but a little API with Rust v18 plus. Yeah, if you can tell me, I'm not sure what this refers to, but let me know. So now we have this stuff, and this is super cool because it works exactly. So what we're going to do, we're going back there. We don't want that. We want our C02 custom. That is going to be, we are creating our custom. We should be back home, yeah? So I'm going to, so what I like to do, this one I close it, I don't care. This one I'm going to pin it. I'm going to pin this guy too. And everything else I'm going to close. So now, what we have is exactly the same thing as this guy. Shouldn't have any changes because we use exactly the same code right now. And the code was very nice. It was very well done. Very simple, very nice, and produced pretty good output. And that takes, simple code is hard to make. So big kudos to the code here, to the Markdownify. So now we're going to see, and the reason why I like this is because, you see, I just do that. But now I'm going to go there. And so title time. Okay. So now I'm going to add my little prints. And so we have the event here. That is an event. So command U for me, I plugged in to show the inlays. I don't have the inlays all the time, but I love to pop up the inlays when I need them. So that is this guy. And then this guy, there's many APIs, I guess. Names should be there or something or whatever. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's assume when we go to the title, we're going to have a debug print. So that with my little Rust 10x, I have a little Rust 10x guy extension, which has this little debug print and everything. And then I'm going to say E. Can I do that? Yeah, I can do that. Boom. Bow, text, simple NDA, confidentiality. So the problem, and I'm going to do the same thing there. Press save. Boom, I got that. Very happy. Subsection and everything. Now the trick here is, I'm very sad on here. It's not. So now my problem here in this byte text is nothing that tells us. And this worries me a little bit because that might be the reason why the developer couldn't do more than that. And in this case, he did the right choice, yeah, because you don't want to take the one, I mean, this is completely valid way of doing it. If you don't have the information, more information about the thing. Now, the thing I don't understand is this is very terse as data, just content. And I don't know why the stars, where do the stars come from? Where do the stars come from? So I'm going to inlay. If you have any question, anybody, feel free to ask. Trying to find where the stars come from. Where do they get loaded, the stars business? E-text stars. There have to be somewhere stars here. Table stars. Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, so we're building the stars. Who is the stars belong to? Oh, to DOCX, okay. Header, okay, so that is its little type, which is completely good. And so now the thing I'm saying is to say when we do the title here. So we're not going to have anything else in our byte text, and that's fine. We're going to always have only the text, which is fine. So that we're okay with that. We go there. So we're okay with those guys. Now what we want is when we do the style, this guy. Oh, it's funny, it doesn't look at the example here. That was useless. No, what am I doing? No, I'm the one messing up here. Header, that is what we want, yeah? So everything is false, and this is where we have. So title and things. P style. Oh, heading. Okay. We might have a thing. B val. Okay. So what about this? What is the value here? Is a string. Get attribute of E. And the E is Okay, so we're going to do 1p. And if val title val. Okay, title, subtitle. Okay, fair enough. And then for the heading, heading 1, heading 2, we are the best. That's pretty cool. That's it. We have it. So what we need is we need to have, so this one, that this guy is title, the subtitle is going to be a good question. And then the heading 1 will be heading 2. So what we're going to do is we want to parse. And it's funny here because what we can do is we can either parse it, we can be lazy and we can say, we can use regex, or we can say, hey, we're going to assume that this is the hard case. We know that heading is heading. Yeah. And then we have a number there, and then we parse it. And if we parse it, we are putting it the level. Otherwise, we don't want to crash it. Yeah, we're going to put a level 0. So that is the intent, but we want to have a header level. So I'm going to go, and that will conclude the today. Once we do that, and if I have my little guys, I'm like super happy. So any question here, feel free to ask. What we want here now, so those guys, we are going to leave them at a title, but what we want is those guys, that is where we want to have level. So I'm going to go back to, so what I do sometimes is I have another, yeah, but I cannot have two files on the same, what is, okay, this is going to be a little bit weird on the VS Code, but that allows me to go back up without. And so now on the styles, I'm going to want to have header level. I'm going to do a U32, but whatever. Yeah, Nguyen, function CW. Yeah, what function CW, params. My script is this one. This is my little, could be smarter. But this is what I'm trying to, I don't like noise. I clear the guy, and then I do like that. Yep. So now, what I want is we're going to add a header level U32. We press save. The thing will probably complain somewhere. Now I'm going to stop this because it's going to confusing too much. Then we are going to say that we want, so we have the title, I'm sorry, and then we want to have the level over there. So let's say that we're going to have fix me and then add fix level and stars, header level. And so by default, it will be 0, I guess. And then we're going to say 4. And I'm going to put something like this because that I know I search for that to make sure. I always search for that before I do a commit. Here we're going to commit it, but you know, we're going to use that for now. And then my goal of this little strategy is to fix first, make the thing work, where we're going to display the right number of hashes, and then after we'll do the logic to parse the one. So it's going to be two very little things. And now I have this, so header level, and I'm going to do, where are we doing the style? Okay, so I'm being slow. And we're going to do the things there. So in the header, we're going to say, I think there is a way to repeat thing for the number styles. There's a repeat guy. Yeah. And then we do that. So here it's not going to fully work, but I like to make work things little by little. Why it doesn't like that, yeah? And then I do a cargo watch. And now if I go to my C2 custom 4, that works nicely. And in fact, you know what? I'm going to decide to say, hey, I don't want the title, this guy to decide how many. The one that decides how many is the one before. So for that guy as well, I want to have the repeat of the header level, which might be 0 now, which might be weird, but yeah, we'll fix that later. And then do like that, boom. That's pretty good. This one, in my head, this guy is not in the business of knowing, you know, what to format and everything. Now, if we go back to the style up there, where am I going to go? Okay. This is, we're going to have a styles header level equal 1. Okay. And then that should create something like that, where now we have 1, 1, it's okay, and 4, that's okay. Now, the only thing that we need is to compute this guy, and what we're going to do is we are going to have heading 1, and then we'll do a +1. We're going to do that. So what we're going to do is, if we want, so it's contain heading. We could do a start with heading if we wanted to, but here's the thing we're going to do. Let num str, I guess, and that will be the heading. So that will be what is a val? What is the val type? String. Okay, that's fine. So that will be, in my head, I'm going to say is going to be the val, which we know has at least this length. And I'm going to do a substring, a slice of this guy. And I'm going to take that length. That works because we don't have any Unicode or whatever. Yeah. And then the rest. Okay, so now this is a guy like that. And because I never know if length is length -1 or this one, I'm being lazy. I'm going this, and I'm going to press save. And then I'm going to see 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so that works pretty well. We get the thing. And now what we want is to parse it as a number. So we are going to do a let num, and we want a u32. And we're going to do the num stream. And I think we can just do a parse like that. And then we're going to do a unwrap all, because we don't want to explode. We're going to do unwrap all. We're going to say if it doesn't find it, yeah, it's a good question. It's going to be 5. This is silly, but whatever. Press save. This one works. So that is a num that we had there. And so if I print this guy, that should be. Okay, how about the vibe coding? I'm going to get that to this too soon here. Yeah, there's only 11 people, but so this way I don't take too much risk. In short, vibe coding is the best way to hit a wall at the highest speed. So when we say, oh, the next programming language is not JavaScript, it's not Python, it's not blah, 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 it's English, it looks extremely well in keynotes. Yeah, because we look smart when we do say that. But it's not, I don't think it's the way it should be going. Yeah, we want people that know how to code, but the people that know how to code needs to use AI. And the problem right now is that all of the buzz is made by the people that does not know how to code, that use AI to code, and to tell people that knows how to code, oh, it's good that I didn't learn how to code because now we don't need know how to code, which is silly. A good coder that use AI well will always be exponentially better than someone that doesn't know to use coding and just do vibe coding. Because sometimes you have, and I use AI a lot for AI pack and everything. Here I don't use it because sometimes people like to, go deep in Rust. But AI it has to be used for coding. The way I use it is for production coding. I use with AI pack, I have a pro coder, and I control the prompt. So I don't let it go. I say exactly what I want it to work on. Yeah. So that is what I do. Now, vibe coding is fun. Yes, I'm not saying to not vibe code. I'm saying this thing of saying a developer, it's better to have a vibe coder than a developer using AI. I don't think that is true. Now, if a developer doesn't use AI, then that is a big problem as well. So now we have the num here. And so one thing is I really code with ChatGPT, the web UI. Sometimes I ask questions, but usually I use AI pack and ProCoder. I will show it here. So now one of the thing is, yeah, code review, compilation, everything. Yeah, and the Git commit should come from you. Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm looking here when I'm looking at the thing there, because it's down there, the chat. So now we do that, we have the num, and in fact, you know what? We can do unwrap all, and then we do a +1. Or we can actually let lever. Oh, no, we can do something like that. Like lever num plus. So we know that we have this guy which is going to be at 1. So we're going to do a num +1. Now the subtitle is also going to be at 1, but that's fine. We're going to leave it that for now. And then that is why I have my little kind of thing. So this one I fixed it. This one I don't need it. That we're going to do parse num. And then set styles. I'm going to go to the next guy over there. We don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. And we should be happy. This might be some code reuse here that could be done, but so far so good. Because in fact, yeah, no, I think it's good to have title. Yeah. I don't know why this guy will make title. Oh, he reset the guy. Okay, the style is used and he resets it. Okay, that's fine. So you need to make sure you reset the guy all the time. So that's fine. And then, so it's pretty cool because thanks to this library, we didn't have to understand too much about the word format. But look at this. Now we have the 1, we have the 2, we have the 3, we have the 2, and this is awesome. I'm always getting excited about stuff. But this is awesome. We have our little thing. So what we did here is we did our first C01, which is just with a markdownify to a doc path and things. That was good. But the problem of this one was the hierarchy wasn't respected. So when I go to the Word document, this is a title guy. So if you go to things, this is title, this is a subtitle. So those guys were two hashes. And then this guy was a heading 1, this one was a heading 2, but then they had the same number of hashes. Yeah, there. And that was a problem, a big problem for me. Now, with the little modification that we did over there, now we have the markdown like that. See custom, C02 custom, where the title and subtitle are 1 for now. And then we have the heading 1 at 2 and heading 2 at 3. So basically we add 2 to the word heading, which is completely fine. And then it's pretty good. Now there's another guy here that I don't like is this, but right now what I'm going to do is git add git c. Yeah, I think vibe coding can be good when you, so I found finding vibe coding incredibly rewarding. I think vibe coding is good when, again, not for production coding, when you want to have fun, when you want to have something. So for example, for me, one thing that I'm planning to vibe code is my reports for the executives. So I'm a CTO as a fractional CTO or whatever, yeah, as a service. And so sometime I need to report to, and I need to give good report to the management, to the executive team saying, hey, here's what we're doing and here all of that. In fact, all of this, the thing I'm planning is to vibe code a little bit, something that all my meetings and everything goes into JSON. And then I'm going to vibe code a cool UI just for me, an HTML, that will do a super cool presentation and I can copy paste to PowerPoint or to my email, not even to send. And this is amazing. I think there's a lot of use cases like that where vibe coding is cool. Now for production coding, for example, AI Pack, it's 45,000 lines of code. I don't want vibe coding. I don't want to generate more code than, and I generate quite a bit of code. Like yesterday I coded with AI Pack, 80% of what I generated was generated by AI, but it was macro managed by me. I was like very precise into what to add and how to add it. And then he did a very good job. So that is the two kind of things here, I think. The two different approaches. And so now I'm going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. That is pointless. And so I wanted to do a git, and I'm going to do a C02 custom with custom docx and correct headings. In fact, here I just did a quick one here, but I usually search for those guys and I remove those guys. So that's why I always have these little things, and then I do a git log and I do a git amend. because I didn't push. Oh, did I push it yet? No, I don't think I pushed it. Okay. Now I pushed it, and then you have it. For we are years away, yeah, but regardless, years away or not, is, for example, I want my doctor to use AI, but I don't want a prompt engineers as my doctor, even in 10 years from now, even in 15 years from now. So the point is you want people that use AI to be better, to be more, have more expertise, and you want people to use AI, no problem, but you don't want to replace expertise. Because if someone has deep expertise and use AI, will always be better than someone that doesn't have this expertise and use AI. So right now, the problem is people use AI to put down what they never had time to learn, or what they, or the jobs that they didn't really like or annoy them. So like product managers or big CEOs or whatever, it's like, oh, you know, coder, now we can code everything. Oh, I was so lucky to not have learned how to code because now it's useless. Well, if you have good developers that know how to code, they're always going to be better than people that just cannot go and fix a line of code. Yeah, so that is the thing. And same thing for a doctor. Yeah, I want a doctor to be able to use AI. And it's the same thing for my lawyer. I just send an NDA for the lawyer and I say, hey, here's what ChatGPT told me. Let me know what to do. And then my lawyer is deciding, and he can do ChatGPT as well, but I trust my lawyer. So I don't think that AI replaces expertise. I think that AI brings reasoning and knowledge to expertise. It's a tool. It's a super cool tool. So that's my take on AI. Now, that doesn't make good keynotes because you want to be able to say that the next programming language is English. That makes it makes more people happy than unhappy. Or at least the people that you think matters. So that is the thing here. And this is pretty cool. So that, and I pushed it and things. Now, the thing I still don't like is this little dot, bullet point. The thing I don't like is this guy here. I don't like a space. And then I don't like that, but like that might be a me thing. But the space, I think it's not, if I do a preview it, yeah, it's kind of work, I guess. Yeah. Well, it's not that bad, actually. But if we wanted to fix it, where will you fix it? And text format, italics, that's good. That's cool. It's pretty cool, lib. Indent. Oh, yeah, I got the stuff and then space and repeat. Okay, so we could fix it here. That's pretty good. And like we could say, so let's go and print this. And we're going to print this guy to see if 0. I mean, it might be 1, I guess. Yeah, 1. So what can we do? What we can do is it's funny, I will have started at 0. So first I'm going to do my way. And then if it's 1, so my question is to say if it's 1, we want 0, and otherwise we want more. So let's put this, I'm going to put that like that. And I'm going to put this like that. It's kind of a hack, but that's the way I like to work. Okay, boom. So now I know the space business there. Now what I want is to say, I do the indent, and I'm going to do let indent. Okay, now we're going in stuff. And we're going to do a saturating sub. That means that we don't go down lower than 0, but we cannot. But I'm doing that just in case the other guy. So I'm going to remove 1. And I'm going to say that now this indent is this guy. Okay, but that now doesn't work very well. We're going to say indent num. That's ugly. I would have said the other way, but whatever. Press save, and then DO. Is that correct? Then boom, we have that like that, which I like it. Now, there's this guy that I don't like, and that is tricky because I will need to think about it. Is we will need to say, well, does a string before has an empty line or not? And if not, we need to add it. So that is one thing I will need to think about, how to do it. Now, one thing that we want is to make sure that it works with multiple indent. This is going too fast for me. Could you give me the architecture first so that I can get general overview? Yeah, the architecture is to take a doc. I mean, the architecture. There's not really architecture here. Is how to take a DOCX-to-Markdown. What we did at the beginning is we use a Markdownify, which was this crate, which had this API. So you take a document, you convert, and then you save into not PDF, but Markdown, and you save it as a Markdown text. And so that is what we have there, C01 Markdownify, and then you can see it that we have that there. Now, the problem of that is the document was this one that I generated, but the level 1, heading 1, and heading 2 always match the same number of those were hard-coded. So it's hard-coded to things. So what we did then is to say, hey, let's go back to the code. What we did is we went there and we went back to this code, and then that we went and fishing on this guy, and then we cherry pick not the PDF, Excel, and everything, but just the one that we needed to do the docx. We brought it to our own library, and we are making changes to make sure that we can do what we want. And so now, on the next one, C02 custom, that is where now the headings is not hard-coded anymore. Title and subtitle is 1. And then after the heading 1 is 2, heading 3 is 4, and so on and so on. That is the way it works. So that is what we did. Now, on the architecture side here, the way that the crate markdown, and we extracted the code, works is they have a style structure that describe a node, and then after on the doc convert, we read the element, and then we have from the archive here, we take the XML, and then for each element of the XML, there's this processing that is happening. And so those are tag names. And those are the Microsoft Word tag name to say it's a table. It's a bold. It's italic. And so the architecture of this crate was to say, hey, first, we're going to read the style business and put it in the styles struct. And then once we have done that, then we go, so we put that in the object, and then on the next event, so that is the first event that does the tags and all the attributes. And then the next event will be, so it could be empty here, we don't care. Yeah, I don't know why it's empty. Because it's, I think is not sure why. Not sure why it's called empty. But that is where you have the text, and this is where, no, that is again the stuff. Okay, go back there. Okay, and okay, so that is another kind of style, kind of business. And then that is the event that says a text. So because the style has been populated by these two steps, then when it goes there, then we know the string, and then we can generate whatever we want in the Markdown. Yeah, so hopefully that explains it a little bit better. In fact, we generate here. And this is where, that's the text, we capture the state again, more state. And then after at the end, when it's the finish, that is where we capture the thing. That's the way it works. And the reason why I didn't have to go, because I went directly where I wanted to, yeah, because I just looked at the headings. And then I say, oh, okay, this is where it goes. And then I kind of assume everything else around it. So that's once you get used how things, and then is a print. So now what we know here is if I go back to my Word document, and we're going to do sub-bullet 1, sub-bullet 2, sub-bullet A. Press save. And now we're going to press save on this guy. We're going to press save, yeah, here. That should run again. And it's cool. We're seeing the numbers going up. And look at that. And this is going probably to conclude our live. I'm actually super happy where that is landed. And so I'm going to go there, git log, git c. That is to say is better, 02, custom. And I'm going to say add new bullet formatting or change. So the point here, and Nguyen, you are right. I want very deep because in fact, and this is the technology about the technique about the print. Yeah, it allows me to go, and I just needed to see where do I do the hash business, and I started to print, and I was like, oh, okay, it's doing this. So I didn't have to spend too much time understanding everything, and just by looking at the dependencies, at the dependencies of that guy, and again, this is a good developer, very, very, very cool stuff. You can see that it's using quick XML. So quick XML, I didn't even know, but I was like, well, if it's quick, it's probably event-based. Yeah. And so then after all of this architecture kind of makes sense. Yeah. It's called layout because when it's event-based, you want to keep all of these states. Yeah, the style states, which is the styles that you capture over time. And so what it's doing here is pretty cool. What it's doing, and it's exactly the way you will work. You keep the state that you have to state. I love even the spacing. I like the way he did it. And then you go there, and that is where you augment your state. Because here you can already extract something. This is a tag name, basically, with the attribute. And then the empty, I don't know what is empty. Let's look at the empty. Empty element tag with attribute. I don't know what is the difference between start tag, empty element tag with attribute. That is a mystery, and we don't have to stuff. But basically, you get both, and then you do whatever. So that's good. So that's why I didn't have to learn all of this, which is pretty good. I'm sure there is a good reason for it. But here you have only the table, actually. Oh, it's funny. And then here, okay, it's a little bit confusing. So here there's only the table, and here you have this guy. And again, that has nothing to do with the mark unified. This is an artifact, I think, of the Word document format. And so here you can see that he just captures with whatever he has. They say, hey, get attribute, which is cool. Wait, where does it come from, this guy? From DOCX, okay. So he has written his own little get attribute stuff. And then, so the code is nice. It's very nice, this code. It's one file, but it's nicely done. So this way it has this little utility that make it much nicer to look at. So you get the attribute, this thing, and say, hey, if it's true, then it's bold. If it's italic and stuff. So he captures what he can capture as a style there. And then, I get a lot of this stuff. Then it goes back there, but it's like, hey, if it's style bold, then the text. And then what did it do? And this one captures the text, I guess. Markdown push string. Okay, capture the text. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense. So it captures the text, and then it reset the styles. And the question is why we didn't reset it at, we create a new one on every loop, but maybe, no, we can't. Yeah, so it's doing the right thing here. That's pretty cool. And then on the end, what it does is dependently, okay, the end is, so that is just a text element. So we're happy, we have everything, it ends. And that is when we close another big guy, yeah, which is a table, a tr, or a p. And this one needs to be handled correctly. So he did a good job. I mean, it's pretty cool. And so we didn't have to, we just had to like add the thing. So my goal for me, for AI Pack is I might take the docx and put it there for now to make the thing works the way I want. And I might do a pull request or put a ticket to ask the owner to say how he wants to handle it and how I handle it. And if he wants, I can have a pull request ready for him to merge. And you always want, when you develop for a crate, a library, there's not a single truth, yeah. So the goal is to go with how the author wants to go. If you say no, I want everything to be flat, it's like, okay, it's completely valid. I mean, everybody has their approach, yeah. That's why open source is great. We can do those things, but we need to contribute back. So my goal is like probably to contribute at least the level of indent, the title level. And then the rest about the dash and everything, it's a little bit a me thing, because even ChatGPT 5, they always put star now for bullet point, which I don't like. And then that's it. So if you have any question, feel free to ask. This is a good time. Thank you, Limian. I really appreciate it. And then, yeah, it's all about, like for me, it's all about liking good engineering. Regardless what a carpenter is, a good carpenter is an engineer. And coding is engineering. There's not one above the other. And so once you love good engineering, you realize that perfection is not a destination, it's a direction, because we always can do the thing better. In AI Pack, there's so many things that I need to fix and stuff. But it's to try to make, the system net value better. And it's about liking what we do and using new tools. So please embrace AI. Do vibe coding. Yes, if you are a coder and you vibe code, no hard feeling for me. It's when people that don't know how to code and say, hey, now we don't need coder because we can vibe code our banking application. It's like, well, put the money there and then call us. Yeah. So that is the thing I'm saying. It's just saying AI is just, it's a game changer. And so I'm going also to do some live about how I use AI for bigger things. But right now I'm just trying to go, this one I would have done this way anyway, because I want to understand how the thing works enough. Now I don't need to go deeper. And honestly, if I want to add more features, I might ask AI to do it. And who knows, AI might know pretty well the XML Word format. And if it doesn't, I can find the spec, put it in Markdown and give it to AI and might do the stuff. But so far, this is pretty good. So I would like to say a big thanks, a huge thanks to the owner, well, I cannot pronounce that, I'm sorry, Scardy. Big thanks to Scardy. I think it's Scardy, yeah. And this was a pretty cool crate. And I'm going to use it, doing a pull request. And then if you have any question, it's a good time. And I think I pushed it. This guy, you have everything now there. And until next one, happy coding.